What's going on, Buff Nation? Welcome back to another video. We got a lot to go over since a lot of things have happened just over the last 48 hours, to be honest with you. New coach has been brought in, aka Warren Sapp. We're going to talk about that and what his role is going to entail. Little April Fool's joke from a past commit. We'll talk about that a little bit. Also, a potential big-time flip / land in the 2024 class with quarterback play, and then information on what's going to happen with the spring game coming up here in just a few weeks, how that's going to plan out. Some more details I've dropped about that today. It's going to be a jam-packed show. Before we do anything, though, you already know what we're doing. I flushed my juice down in the club. Well. As we have already talked about it in other shows before, about a few weeks ago we talked about this. Maybe, and it's been a while since we talked about it, but Warren Sapp has finally joined the team. We talked about this, I think it was January, because some things have came out and broke out where his prior past, there were some concerns with domestic violence, and I think Colorado had a previous history, not with this staff, with staffs well before the current staff, but you know how that history kind of sometimes carries over, and so they're super sensitive to the situation. So obviously there was a lot of noise that Warren Sapp would be on the team, and then everything kind of came to a screeching halt. And then I can't remember what weekend it was. Maybe it was Super Bowl weekend. Warren Sapp was on an interview where he said, I am joining the team. I will be there. And then that was kind of what got the ball rolling. It's been silence ever since, but he has now joined the team. And what his title is, and this is exactly what we thought it was going to be, is a senior quality control analyst, right? This is what Sapp told the team. His quote to the team says, but what we're going to do is, big fellas, stance, alignment, and assignment. We're going to pour concrete because you know I like nice stuff. We're building mansions here. So that's why I'm here to help you build a mansion. So he'll be a graduate assistant. It's required to enroll in a graduate level course. And I talked about this last time. Brandon Spikes, former linebacker for the Florida Gators, played for the Buffs and for the Patriots just a few years ago. He as well as a graduate assistant on the Florida Gators. He's constantly tweeting about class and having to take courses and the stress of taking the class. It's a very low-paying job, but it's kind of how you get your foot in. They said, look, this job typically lasts no longer than 3 years. It's an entry-level coaching job. But to have the experience of Warren Sapp on your staff that has a ton of NFL experience, and look, this is where college football, it's always been there, but it's more semi-pro than it has ever been in our entire lives. And you see the formula that Coach Prime is trying to apply to this team by bringing in a former offensive coordinator that coached in the NFL, by bringing in a coach that now the defensive coordinator that was a coach in the NFL. A ton of coaches, and this isn't, look, abnormal, but definitely doubling down on coaches that played in the game. And he talked about it in his previous press conference where, look, these kids are going to be asking, why should I listen to you? They've got an ego more than ever now with money. It's, who are you to tell me that? And it's much easier to take it from somebody who's actually played the game. Not every great coach has to play the game. We understand that, but sometimes it takes time for those coaches to maybe build credibility or build a relationship. They may be young and great, but it's hard for them to communicate and to transcend to the players, because the players are like, what do you know? You haven't even played the game. So a coach that's played the game will be able to get it across much easier sometimes, and it's much more receptive from players, especially where the mindset is now. You've got kids that are coming in. They're no longer kids. They're young men making more than most of the coaches. Like, think about that, right? They're making more than most of the coaches. So you've got to find this nice, even balance to manage these personalities. And I think what Coach Prime is trying to do, and is succeeding very well, is going to be very successful. So this will be fun to watch to see how Warren Sapp plays out. I saw some people commenting on his mohawk and his haircut. weren't big fans of it. People find anything to get upset about. It's a fresh haircut. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to bring a lot of energy and excitement. Rock the mohawk. You know what I'm saying? I love it. It's a little throwback, but I'm down for it. Now, some April Fool's joke for us. We'll talk about that and kind of transition into recruiting in a little bit here in just a moment. So Antoine Hill, 4-star quarterback. I know you remember the name because he committed early on last year, was one of the first early commits, big-time pickup. And then recently there was that slew of decommitments that happened over, I think, right around December time for that 2025 class. And Antoine Hill was part of that, where he goes, look, I'm not quite sure what I want to do. All these things, not quite sure if Coach Prime's not going to be there. And didn't rule out Colorado, But since then, his entire recruiting has changed. It switched to North Carolina. Now Florida seems to have a heavy lead in his recruitment. But today on his Instagram story, he said, "We back, Sco Buffs." I believe is what it said. And then obviously mayhem erupts, and then he goes, "I'm just kidding." So people are like, "What are we doing here? Like, we're playing games." Look, it's the name of the game, right? I've talked about this time and time again. I think it's cooled off a lot than what it was that first year. I felt like everybody and anybody felt like if you wanted to get some flash, if you wanted to get a click, Colorado was going to be in your top 5, top 7, what have you, just because what came with it, the excitement that followed behind it. And it still has it to this day, maybe not as big. So you're going to have fun with it. You're going to play with it. Look, it's a joke. It's not that big of a deal. I think not because of this, but I think the ship has passed with Antoine Hill to Colorado, only because I think that the interests have changed. It looks like Antoine has moved his interest, and it looks like Colorado is heavily, as is everybody, heavily pursuing Julian Lewis, as they should be. Top-tier quarterback, currently committed to USC. But I got to tell you right now, Ohio State and Georgia are also heavily pursuing Julian Lewis. Look, Colorado missed out on Bryce Underwood, the number 1 quarterback in the country. It looked like Colorado had some momentum at the end there. The quarterbacks for 2025 are all scooped up at the moment. The top 10 quarterbacks are all currently committed. That doesn't mean they can't flip, obviously. Antoine Hill, I think, is creeping in that top 15 category. Obviously, he's not committed, but Julian Lewis is committed. Again, it doesn't mean they can't flip, but a lot of these quarterbacks already have a home. And again, to see a quarterback flip doesn't happen often. Now, it is still very, very early in this process, so anything can happen. Now, also, a crystal ball came through just a few days ago for Mantrez Walker, 6-foot linebacker, 215 pounds. This came in on 321, so it's been a little bit of time since that has dropped from Anna Adams. 9 out of 10 feeling on landing the linebacker for 2025 from Buford. And what I love about this pickup here for this crystal ball, I should say, is Buford is... It's basically the IMG of Georgia. That's where Dylan Raiola played, KJ Bolden, a few other big-time commits from the 2024 class. KJ Bolden was a 5-star safety. Cornerback. We know what Dylan Raiola was, the number 1 quarterback, number 2 quarterback behind DJ Lagway that ended up flipping to Nebraska. A lot of top-tier talent coming out of that Buford High School. So to get a piece of talent from that school, it gives you a little bit of a lifeline, as you will, to plug and start talking with that school as well. So love this crystal ball here. See if this thing will pop anytime. Right now, he's a 3-star, ranked 486 nationally. Doesn't mean, that's not going to grow as time goes on, but we'll see about that. And next up, we got a big-time official visit happening from Javon Hilson. 6'3", 225, the number 3 edge in the country, was committed to Alabama, then flipped to Florida State. We know what happened with the entire Alabama situation. He flipped right around that time to Florida State. But the commitment, this recruiting process is nowhere near over. He is set to make an official visit April 27th. Why is that important? That's a spring game. We're going to talk about that in just a moment because it's going to be a bomb-ass spring game, as I should say. So keep your eyes out again. A 6'4", 225 edge, Javon Hilson, currently committed again to FSU. FSU got a lot of big commits. A lot of these schools like USC and Florida State kind of got a lot of big commits early on. We'll see if all of these things stick. Again, we've got a big portal opening up here in May, the transfer portal. There's a lot of predictions and feelings and murmurings that that's going to be a big portal cycle. That's going to affect this recruiting because of where these schools move around. So this is nowhere near but over, but he's going to be visiting on April 27th. And why that's important is because April 27th, some news broke today that it looks like Lil Wayne and others will be performing at the spring game. Coach Prime alluded that was going to be a big-time party. He's like, it's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. Somebody's going to pick this up, meaning the TV rights, because ESPN was not going to pick that up, given they have the draft that weekend, and ESPN was also covering the Alabama game. So there was some concern that, hey, how is this game going to be put on TV? And Coach Prime was like, somebody needs to pick this up. And now it's been confirmed that the Pac-12 network has picked it up. I believe for some of these who how can you watch it? I know a lot of the Pac-12 games were streamed on YouTube last year. If we're able to find it, we'll probably try to stream it here on this channel and watch it. So we'll see how that ball breaks out. as more details come about that, how we can watch it, we definitely will. But look, Lil Wayne will be there, and it seems like others will be there as well for concerts. And here's what I love about this as well too, is just kind of a little bit of a throwback to what Kirby Smart did about a few years back. I don't think he does as much as anymore, but when he first hit Georgia, kind of make an impression, make a big hit, he had, I think it was Ludacris, come in and do a performance. Again, making these events a spring game that typically, you get excited for a practice. That's what it is. It's a glorified practice. We obviously know last year what it was. It was mayhem, but that was a shiny new toy. It's still a shiny new toy, but not the same way as it was. So how do we continue to keep this hypeness, especially when you have big-time recruits like Javon Hilson that will be showing up to this event, as will other big-time recruits. And as we get closer to that date, we'll definitely have a list and go over who will be there. And again, you're competing with other schools that have their spring game during this weekend as well, which I'll do like a kind of video, I think, looking at to see, because that is a big factor. Sometimes schools will have their games on different days, so they're not competing with other schools and having recruits there. Coach Prime sees no problem there on having on a Saturday with, like, I think Oregon and a couple others will have theirs on that day as well too. It kind of breaks out through the month of April. I know there's the first are coming in that April 12th, 11th, 13th weekend, and the following weekend. So almost every weekend in April, there will be a spring game of some sort with multiple schools having their spring game. So great information there. A lot is broken down. Like I said, they're back from their spring break this week as well too. So we'll start getting some more practice clips, going over those things, seeing how things are progressing throughout the team. But without further ado, be sure to smash the like button, subscribe. Hope you guys enjoy the content. Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts and feelings on these commitments, or these recruits, I should say. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace and love, baby.